Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sci-Fi Thursday. With me is Admiral Teague. How you doing, Admiral?
Hey, what's going on? Good to see you, Germ. I'm doing good. 300 subs in the last hour. So thank you, YouTube, and thank you to everybody out there. 300 channel members in the last hour. It was great.
Congratulations on that. And
Thank you so
let's see who
much.
we got with us. Brandon Williams, who's fan 2000. Welcome to the show. And it's not showing up here, but also Captain Trek and Orville Nation were here earlier.
Hell, PJ.
And Sci-Fi Mom, be welcome to the show. Glad you could be here.
Oh, great. It's so nice to see Sci-Fi Mom again. She's going to be on Saving Star Trek tomorrow.
Oh, that'll be interesting. All right, our first topic for today is Ahsoka. Season 1's finally done. What do you think about it, Tig?
That's a great way of putting it. It's done. Can't hurt anyone anymore for a while. The aesthetic was terrible. They didn't seem to put a lot into their sets. I mean, I look at like fiberglass henge is like a big part of their show. This whole Ahsoka the White thing lifted from Lord of the Rings. I just the place between places, because we don't get any clarity on whether or not it's really the world between worlds. I had issues with all of it, and it was incredibly boring, and it was one of the hardest things ever to research because it's really, really, really slow.
Yeah, they really didn't live up to Rebels for me.
It didn't. You know what? I wonder why Disney missed this opportunity. And you can tell me what you think of this idea, but quite honestly, Dave Filoni, dishonestly, in my opinion, said you don't need to watch Rebels at all to enjoy this standalone show. I beg your pardon, Mr. Filoni. You did. Everyone said it. Even the people who liked it were like, "Yeah, no, I got this because it's in Rebels." And I just got to say, why not have a one-day event on ABC or even Disney Plus, hosted by, I don't know, Anthony Daniels, right? And do like a curated selection of episodes of Rebels. You know
That
what I
would have been
mean?
smart. And,
People to watch.
yeah. And hello, Disney Cheap Herder. Welcome to the show. And Gorilla's Random Thoughts. Welcome.
Hello, Gorilla. Hello, Disney. Disney is a mighty wrench. If you haven't given him one, you should. He's
I'm not sure if he's...
protector of all things good in pop culture.
And there you go, Disney.
Disney Sheepherder's not a Jedi. He's a navigator on a spice freighter.
That's what your uncle wanted you to believe.
You know what? You made a good choice. Disney Sheepherder is a great channel supporter and a great supporter of independent sci-fi, independent reviewers, and independent streaming. Hail Disney Sheepherder. And everyone else out there in the chat, it's nice to see you. Thank you for coming by to hear our thoughts. I'm not the biggest quantum leaper, so hopefully we'll get some help on that one. But as far as Ahsoka, yeah, I mean, there were so many problems in that show. Like when they land on that planet and then later they're fixing their ship because it's not broken. What the hell happened there?
In that finale, apparently clipping the TIE fighters broke the ship.
It landed just fine. They had no clue. They didn't say there was something wrong. No instrument indication. They're flying just fine. They land just fine. But yeah, we clipped the TIE fighter. So our aerodynamics are too messed up to fly like you saw us do after we clipped the TIE fighter. It's stupid. Writers of convenience.
It was a bad plot point, no matter how they cut it. But a lot of the show...
a monster or something from the planet, something alien, come up and mess up the ship. Star Trek would have summoned, old Star Trek would have summoned up a Mugatu or something because, like, yeah, I had to kill it. It was chewing on the power cables, something, anything except just like, oh yeah, now our ship's broken for reasons.
Yeah, well, they don't really need the ship at that point anyway. It's a dead plot point. But there's so many dead plot points on this show. I was noticing the editing all over the place. Bad timing, bad scene selection.
Strange application of music and lack of music in places where it really would have helped.
Yeah. And on the last episode, the Father of Mortis with the Fallen Jedi, that's an easy cut. You're not going back to it because, unfortunately, Ray Stevenson passed away. So they are never revisiting that particular plot in season 2. So why keep it?
I would ask our pals in chat if they want to take a look at this, but I have heard that he has been recast. Maybe someone could Google that quick, but I've heard he's been recast. Like,
that would be horrible.
Well, if there's no story without him, what do you do? I mean, although like these writers,
there's no story with him.
But he was good.
Yeah, he's pretty much the only quality actor on that show, and they gave him crap, but he did okay with it.
You know what? He tried. I would say this: we had just some real shit characters here. Dave Filoni's choice of how they looked as cartoons probably worked as cartoons, but he was so afraid to give Hera a look that wasn't preposterous. We had to laugh our way through this show with her dressed the way she is in Rebels because they don't trust us to have someone say her name. And it's like, oh, okay, so that's her. She wears like this stupid, redundant steampunk outfit that just, it doesn't make her look like she knows what she's doing. She never needs those goggles. When she takes off the earmuffs, my God, the ears look horrible. And I thought that it was arrogant. I go with Twi'lek, like Twilight, but yeah, I believe that both are correct. So I'm just going to say Twi'lek because I'm used to it. You know what, though? Here's the thing. There were not enough concessions made by Filoni to other Star Wars, especially movies, to make her look sufficiently like other Twi'leks at all. And I don't want to hear about another part of the planet or how they're three races. We've seen green Twi'leks. It didn't work out with it. She was nothing like Una from Return of the Jedi.
Yeah. Well, I believe even the actresses played that were completely different. The one in Return of the Jedi was an Asian actress, and this is, I believe, Irish.
Now, I could believe that they had like features that could be plastered over with this makeup that wouldn't matter. I mean,
they heavily did that.
But my point to the matter just is the tone of green they used, the way that we saw that Twi'lek, her skin tone, and then to look at Hera she's somewhat uncanny.
Yeah, they went neon green for some reason. She is a pretty bright green in the cartoon, but it really did too much. Yeah.
Do you think they tried to match it to his cartoon? Because Anakin is matched to the way he looks in the cartoon when he has any real detail. Sometimes he looked like Odo.
Yeah. I think they did okay with the costume for Hayden Christensen. It wasn't drawn for his body type, so they had to make some allowances, and he is a rather skinny guy now compared to what he was back in the prequel trilogies, because he hasn't really kept in shape. So,
well, good, I mean, good for him. Most people just get fat when they get old, right? So at least he got skinnier.
Yeah. But the look really wasn't too bad on that aspect.
I didn't have a problem with the way he looked. but we were saying it before the show. We don't get any kind of confirmation, and we can only look to other parts of the show at the level of hand holding and the stupidity that we're subjected to. When they go to the world between worlds, we only have that from people leaking it on the internet that that's what we're supposed to think. They didn't say it.
And I agree with Mombi here. That was exactly an Orion. It's like they picked up extra Orion body makeup. It was way too bright.
She was really, really really green. And while here's the thing too. We've all seen this over and over in so many George Lucas process documentaries, and I don't know if people have the capacity to also cheer on your channel like they do mine, where they just have to hit the hearts. But if you could cheer, it's just like for Hera, it's like
I believe that
or even just for this whole Star Wars show of Ahsoka. We've seen George Lucas over and over, and they run a scene very much like we'd expect to, running and gunning with their weapons out, and in his Star Wars, their guns fired a little bit to give them a reference point of what was going on, like they had like blanks in them, you know what I mean? You've seen Han Solo fire the gun and stormtroopers, etc., right? So you'd see something like that, and they're cut, and they'd be like, is that a wrap? Is that a print? And what is George Lucas famous for saying, right?
faster, more intensity.
Right?
Yeah.
Faster, more intensity.
And in this one, we had, if George Lucas could say anything, he'd be like,
I think by that you went a bit too far. If you place this slower, no intensity, please slow that down, less intensity.
And that didn't work for Star Wars. We can't have the plot conversation where we do exposition in a clunky way, unfolded, dirt cheap, with no accompanying music, with long pauses between dialogue, while four women and a robot, or three women and a robot, talk about another map, another missing person, another MIA case, and all this other stuff, and these long pauses, and they look at each other. It's like the dialogue was terrible to begin with, but it's like, so where do we look? Everyone looks at each other, and we get reaction shots, right? And then everyone folds their arms, and someone goes, where no one else is looking. Something like that, because it's all edge lord shit in the show.
You get a lot of that when you can, let's say PG-13.
Okay, I'll try it. Only one F-bomb. The show holds your hand so insultingly with the Clone Wars, and also the world between worlds, the place between places. And then what I was just saying too. It's so challenging to Star Wars and immersion. And where's Luke?
If you go back and watch Clone Wars, a lot of the holes are filled in. I agree, Mombi, but at least 2/3, maybe half the audience have never seen Clone Wars or Rebels. So
and he decided to lean,
especially with them saying, "Do not watch. You don't need to watch Rebels." So
that was a mistake.
Yeah.
A TV event hosted by Anthony Daniels on a Saturday on Disney or Disney Plus, Disney Channel regular, or even on ABC would have done absolutely wonders for people's understanding of this. How about a curated special
and promo?
10 episodes. Yeah, it would have been a good promo. They didn't even try to make this show into an event. It's like Ahsoka's coming. Everything will be fine. Ahsoka. Next big thing's coming, Ahsoka. Nothing overly special. And then episode 5 in the theaters. Yeah, all right.
I shouldn't have to watch 2 other shows to understand this one. Exactly, Gorilla. Who has the time?
Not only that, but between the 2 shows, how many seasons are we talking? 13?
Well, technically 7. Yeah, 13. Since they added that last season of Clone Wars.
So you only need to watch 13 seasons of television to be up to speed. You're bad fans. If you guys had watched Ahsoka the right way, you wouldn't think it was so mid. The problem is that
Even if
people
you
like
did.
myself just didn't watch it right. I mean, I've seen this exchange here where she has the lightsaber duel with Ray Stevens, and although it's good and I'm digging on it, it's like we kind of get away from there as fast as we can to watch to go back to Fiberglass Henge. And this is gonna sound mean, but I guess should I just say what I think?
Go for it.
We got a lot of women who've had like really extensive like face freezing plastic surgery. Like that's a popular form of current plastic surgery. It makes your face inexpressive, but you can't like move your face around to wrinkle it. And if you want to see how well it works, Halle Berry, right, has it.
Yeah.
And she got it with the money she made from Monsters Ball. And that surgery has stood up since the time of that movie as a good idea. We've got a few people in this show who've had that surgery. Morgan Ellsberg or whatever her name is, Elsmith. She's had the surgery and it doesn't help her. She's impassive. Whether Rosario Dawson's had it or not, we can't tell. Her face is impassive.
There's too much makeup on her, and she can't be too expressive because I think they cheaped out on the makeup and pretty much all of it. So if she gets too expressive, it tends to flake.
I found that it was also one of the things was it was a deeply uncanny moment when she took off her little leather head circlet, where her head was biased and strange and odd and cheap. And again, a lot of bad application of music and other things. But I found this too. In episodes where the show gave up, the show was conscious of the fact that it was giving up.
Yeah,
and that there was less
music.
A lot. There were whole episodes where they weren't that determined to do well, so we had a real lack of music, a real lack of enjoyability, a real lack of the things that would help along. Like they're like, this episode just won't be good because we have to connect like Rule of Cool Part 1, the Rule of Cool Part 2. And it's right before we don't want to get to the point because people need to renew their Disney Plus. So we have to circle around in the same spot for a minute and just kind of be dumb. And then we had like maybe the attempt to avoid the total nothing burger episode, even though there might have been some, was, well, maybe if everything is just really slow.
Yeah. A lot of that too felt like trying to fill out episodes, which again is coming back to the editing. Even with what they got, halfway decent editor should have been able to get at least 12 episodes out of that, 30 to 35 minutes apiece.
I think here's the problem. While you might be right about the editor, they didn't employ a decent enough story person to give us that much story. There wasn't enough story there. They were already playing for time, and dare I say, like a movie of the pornographic persuasion with the length of the credits and the way to try to hiding the run times and then coring out what the actual runtime of the episode was. If you cut out previously on credits and end credits, it was like, wasn't there one that was like a despicable 29 minutes?
And that's good. That's a good runtime. Cutting out all that stuff. That's where they needed to target.
Nothing happened in that one, though. It was like one of the worst ones. I would agree with you.
Nothing happened in any of them.
If they had said a 12 half-hour episodes, that would have been something. But I think what we're doing is we're still incestuously taking people from the J.J. Abrams School of Writing and people associated with Lost and people associated with that other stuff. And the one thing we've never seen them do is write an ending. So imagine a show that's episodic with a series of endings. You know, since these these Lost writers and these J.J. Abrams and secret hideout people have proliferated throughout everything. Like, there wasn't a problem having like 12, 30-minute episodes that may have had a satisfying ending. We have people here who couldn't even write the ending at the end of what was it, 8 episodes? At 8 episodes, we could not really end this. Didn't really sort of fulfill anybody or make a whole lot of, you know?
Yeah, there was no real end to, oh yeah, they got Thrawn, he's back, and yeah, that nothing happened. 8 episodes is nothing really happened.
And we've heard this before. The hallmark of a bad story is lack of causality or like too much coincidence and contrivance. And that's what we had in Ahsoka. And Ahsoka could easily be described this way. Ready? This happened, then this happened, then this happened, then this happened. And that would be the way you describe Ahsoka. The way you describe a good story is this. Well, this happened, which makes this happen. So that's why this happens. Therefore, this happens. However, because of this, this happens. And because of this, and those are the things, however, because this happens, that makes a story make sense. I mean, these people do not load or fire Chekhov's gun, let alone the guns that we see the stormtroopers misusing throughout the episodes at the end.
Yeah. I think with the stormtroopers, they must have cheaped out and just, here's the prop, point, and look like you're firing. A lot of the times they have, as you said, blanks or even like something similar to a Nerf dart that they can just trace it across the screen.
A Nerf dart would have been better, but even then you would have had to put like eye protection on the set, which would have had to be CGI'd out. I think that this one might be on Alec Baldwin not being able to use squibs anymore and blanks. I'm being honest. I'm not trying to. Hey, Appion, hello, buddy. Thanks for liking the stream. And so glad that you came by.
Hey, Appion. Thanks for being here. And we also got Jedi Master Evan. Thanks for stopping by. That's a new name for me.
Oh, I've seen Raven around. He's a good guy. I like Jedi Master Raven. Even though he's a Jedi, and I'd prefer him if he was Sith Master Raven.
Can't believe Quantum Leap is back. Can nothing be enjoyed anymore? Let the old things
delete. Yes. Delete the past. Burn it if you have to. We have been stuck in that trope for way too long. I, for one, am tired of kill the past.
Yeah. Don't kill the past if you don't have anything new, especially. And they apparently don't have anything new, which is sad. There's more writers in Hollywood than ever before and seemingly less talent than ever before. But that seems to be a good spot to transition. I am going to try to talk you in to giving the new Quantum Leap a chance.
Here's the thing, starting right off the bat, and I'll listen to you after this, but isn't this not also brought to us by the New Trek people?
No.
All right, so this reboot just happens to have some transcendental coincidences with the way Secret Hideout does stuff, with the way they swapped people and stuff. But all right, I'm listening now that I know it's not them.
This is a sequel, not a reboot. This takes place in real time, 2023, as compared to season 5 of the original show, I believe was 2003 when it ended. So Sam is still lost in time. Al is unfortunately dead because they were trying to arrange at least a cameo, but unfortunately the actor passed away before they could get that all done. But
Dean Stockwell, you talk about?
Yeah, Dean Stockwell passed, I believe, is like a month before the show premiered.
That's too bad. He was like an actor all like for a good long time, and he's a lot of stuff.
Yeah. But in season 1, they actually cast someone to play his daughter to help fill the gap. But as far as woke goes, it's actually not as bad as stuff like Ahsoka, where like Ahsoka, you have women standing around and talking. There's almost no scene in the new Quantum Leap where you don't have at least Ben and or Magic as the center of attention. Because unlike the original, they have the present. They have a cast in the present, which I can't remember her name offhand. Allison is his fiance. She's the hologram. Not
Now-
overly well. Yeah, go
I
ahead.
just ask you this. Would be remiss in not asking. Scott Bakula would have been great in the role. Is he still on one of the NCIS shows? Is that why he's not part of this?
I'm not sure if he's still on NCIS, but
I'm gonna IMDb.
he
him and
turned
see.
down. He did turn down a recurring role in a cameo that they offered him, mainly because Stockwell not being able to be involved and being a little nervous about how reboots have gone over recently. He didn't want to overly commit.
He might have heard a lot about Enterprise because it was a prequel too, which is kind of like considered in the same ilk as reboots.
Yeah. But yeah, that's it. In season 1, there is a couple of very, very bad episodes. Like there's a one focusing on a transgender kid, which can be considered child abuse. So if anyone's sensitive about that, I'd avoid that episode at all costs. But just skipping to the premiere, they completely cut out that he leaped home. That for some reason Ben did not leap home, because when they originally filmed this season finale for 1, they weren't renewed. So they just filmed it as a flash of light, and that flash of light means nothing now. There was nothing in the flash of light. But he has good adventures in the past.
I would say this: with the strike ending and some shows already having fallen by the wayside anyway, there's a shot maybe it might be in the ether that they get their season 2, and they had a network season 1. Perhaps
they got their season 2.
They got it
on
good.
network. Yeah, it premiered yesterday. It runs on NBC, Peacock the next day. But season 2, pretty good. I'd say it's about a 3 out of 5, 3.5 out of 5 for season premiere. Grading on a scale or a curve, of course, because they don't have them dealing with a hologram. They're minimal feminism in it when they put in a lieutenant to the Air Force. They get the general story right, but they get some small details wrong. Sort of the opposite of Ahsoka, where like Ahsoka, you see all the technical, like the CGI is pretty good and the work is good, but the overall story just isn't there. For a single encased episode, Quantum Leap, very good, but they get a lot of the details. Like in this episode, they're in Russia trying to get a package out of the country. there's a female lieutenant, supposedly in the Air Force in 1978, which is a big problem because women weren't allowed at the Air Force Academy until 1976.
She could have risen through the ranks, but we're talking. Yeah, I mean, wow.
Yeah. And like the function of the SAM missiles and the mines, it's essentially something they Googled to see, hey, would this work? And they didn't take into account that this is 1978.
So it's sort of like in Secret Invasion, where by dirty bomb they simply meant bomb, and there was no dirty aspect to it. It was just a bomb.
Well, not quite as egregious. It's like a tripwire mine. They treat it as a pressure plate mine, flapping on the front of a truck and ramming a radar dish, which wouldn't work for a tripwire mine. And like with the SAM rocket, they say, oh, well, if we destroy the radar, it's going to turn back and target this building. It wouldn't really do that, but they get a nice explosion for the episode.
Well, I will say this: nothing this show could do could be as grandiose or stupid as the kind of stuff that we dealt with in show one, where honestly, and when you talk about how they don't nail it all together sometimes in this show, in the other show and in Ahsoka, if we could have hived off Shin Godzilla and Ray Stevenson and just had a show about how evil they were and going around the galaxy being bad, I would have liked that show more. Like, they were like at least slightly interesting.
Yeah.
Compared to the other people. But so Quantum Leap, I'd be willing to give it a try. I would watch it. The other people have spoken like of the idea that it's of high, mid, and could get better. That seems to be the consensus. They're like, yeah, no, I'm sticking with it. Seems to be like it's got fans who want to see it soar. It seems to be a good-hearted reboot. I'm sorry, a good-hearted sequel. And by being a sequel, that was the first thing they did right? Because they're acknowledging the other show. They're not erasing it or outdoing it.
Yeah. And what few retcons they do make they're very highly needed. For example, if you remember in season 4 and 5 of the original, they brought in the waiting room. Wasn't very conducive to the overall plot. They just did that so they can feature Al and bring in some other characters. So the waiting room, they completely.
All right, yeah, I had to think about that. Yeah, that's when he could sometimes interact with them like more or less alone.
Yeah, so when Sam was in their body in the past, they jumped into Sam's body in the year 2000 or whenever they were.
Yes, it was in the future past year of 2000 or something like that.
Yeah.
I believe they do overshoot the year that the show is supposed to start, but it doesn't have any real effect on it. Look, you know what? The formula was fun. It worked for years. It was a sci-fi show that was like, I guess, had to be light on science, light on sci-fi. It was almost almost magic, but people enjoyed it, and a strong actor who's versatile could pull it off. I mean, how's this guy doing selling the character?
Oh, he's doing pretty well selling. He's not Sam, but he's still Sam was portrayed as more on the liberal side for the 80s, and Ben is portrayed as more on the liberal side for today. Not so much as over the top, but a well-grounded liberal.
He was liberal for the 80s. He's like, I voted for Reagan, but only the second time. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, what do you call it? With Quantum Leap, I didn't realize that there was any kind of political aspect to it.
I just knew that like they were cognizant of stuff like people like a good Halloween episode. There's at least one or two of them. And it was like there was a show that I could watch with my mom and even my grandmother. So like there was an aspect of fun for the whole family in it. And it didn't have any of the things that I hate in TV, like people with crazy ongoing secrets, somebody, if this had been, Alex Kurtzman's Quantum Leap, female Sam, who would be named Sam because it's a man's name anyway, like she would have a terrible secret. You know what I mean? We don't have, we're free of that kind of stuff. We could just we're free to experience the quantum leaping.
Yeah, mostly. They have one or two things that pop up, but never last more than an episode.
Let me ask you this:
And
how do we end it?
essentially forgotten.
What's the impetus for Leap One? Are they like, we've got this tech, we've got to try it, or is it like, we've got this tech, we can't try it, and like, damn it, I'm going to do it anyway? Which one do we go with?
Throughout season 1, it's a mystery why he decided to get into the accelerator for most of it. It turns out he is trying to save his fiancée because he is in communication with one of the team members from the future.
Now in the first
is a negative because one of the team members is, I think you'd classify him as a non-binary. YouTube doesn't like when you say the word trannies, but that's what he is.
We're gonna go there. Yeah, you know what? What are you gonna do? YouTube, fuck you. There's freedom on Rumble. And I hope you split your stream over there so you can get the Rumblers in. Because once that starts to build, that's pretty cool. Yeah, you know what? I don't know why they had to do that, but whatever. At least it wasn't our star, So whatever, that person's there. They exist.
Yeah.
All right, I'm not gonna tank the whole show on that, but yeah, not a lot of fun. But what is it? Isn't it a CBS show?
It is NBC, so it's on Peacock the day after it airs.
That's right. You said Peacock. Yeah. All right. So we don't have.
That's right, Rocco. I was talking about the car part.
I just know that. I just know I can take anything after Ahsoka. How long did she stand on top of that ship as they approached that whale? Like 4 minutes? I mean, that just the absolute arrogance of the pace of the storytelling.
Yeah, I think Filoni gave up. He didn't care because they did come in after production started and either did reshoots or I want this instead of this, which makes me think that all that other galaxy stuff was after the fact, and the original story called for it to be the unknown regions, because you notice they stopped talking about other galaxy completely the moment they got there.
I wonder how much of that was so that they don't have to like pay extra money to the person who specifically wrote the book, just like the way they refused to say the world between worlds was the world between worlds, because in that show they held your fucking hand so much and it was so insulting. Like, we go back to the Clone Wars with a younger Ahsoka and Anakin styled the way we saw him in the Clone Wars, like the hair was like the way that he was in the Clone Wars cartoon. You know what I mean? Like, they did a decent job of that. It was the one nice touch in the whole scene. And like you said, his armor worked out, like his outfit worked out. Like the one whole nice touch in that whole scene. She says that, looks at him and goes, "This is the Clone Wars." As ARC troopers run by. So that's the amount of insulting hand-holding you're getting. So they're in the world between worlds, and she didn't go, wait, we're in the world between worlds. That means that they either didn't want to pay someone, or they weren't in the world between worlds, or they don't want to commit. A lot of that show is a nothing burger and can be written off to not counting for anything. And what, like,
after that long encounter with Anakin, where we found out that the young Ahsoka was the better Ahsoka of the show, and I suspect we saw the pilot of an young Ahsoka series, by the way. It would be.
I think that'd be a little weird just for them. Even for them, that'd be weird.
She was better with the lightsabers than Ahsoka proper. I thought her fighting was better. Honestly.
Yeah.
How many?
Rosario Dawson isn't really cut for a role like that. She's stockier and more of the boxer body type.
Rosario Dawson has had how many years knowing she's playing a sword wielding character?
Yeah, but there's just nothing you can do. No amount of training or anything, you're not going to turn that body type into a gymnast.
No, not a gymnast. But how about this? A fencer.
That may have worked out. It would have worked out better.
About she has been playing a character who's a sword wielder for 4 years, right? 3 years or 4? Is it 4? She's known for 4. She's been doing it for 3, but which means she's known for 4. People sign contracts, start filming, etc. So she's been playing a Jedi, or known she's been playing a Jedi for something around 4 years. Let me ask a question. If I told you were going to play a Jedi, would you maybe prepare for that? Try to be the best Jedi you could? What do you think would come to you without?
She could have trained a little bit more, but her natural athletic type doesn't fit to the lightsaber forms that Ahsoka uses. That's why they need more of an acrobat. And
how about this, Rosario? I don't want to sound like too exacting here, but how about this? Rosario Dawson goes and learns any type of dueling style that works. Any type at all that works for her with fencing, right? Anything. And if it involves her only being able to use one sword convincingly, if it's convincing, let her do it. Disarm her with one lightsaber, use the Force to knock it out of her hand, whatever we want to do, and have her fight using a style that Rosario Dawson herself had learned. Something from medieval England where you wore stocky armor. That still was a real fencing style, right? Then we wouldn't have had moments where he swings and then angles it up over her head and brings it back down. Or when she ducks through the lightsaber and drags it through her own body in what would only be a self-dismemberment if we follow the physics of the lightsaber duel with Anakin. That lightsaber blade has to pass through her body. It has to.
Yeah. I think that was more of an editing mistake than anything.
When he swings at empty air a couple of times because she's so slow, and when he swings at her lightsaber blades rather than and passes on a kill stroke 4 and 5 times, when it got to be ongoing, it's like, because if it happened here and there,
is an editing. Yeah, that is a choreographing mistake. There's also several editing mistakes in pretty much all the lightsaber fights.
I think what we're doing is we're seeing that this was like bad on 2 levels. But dare I say this? You're totally right about editing, but we may have had a poorly conceived lightsaber duel here. We may have not have put in what we needed to do this, and part of it may lie. I'm sorry, Rosario Dawson, but if you had learned defense in any way whatsoever, including medieval 2-handed broadsword style, I don't care what her body style is. People used to duel who looked like that body style. Go to a fencing expert, go to a ballet expert, go to a boxing expert, whoever it might be, and have him say, so you've changed your style. And she could just use, as long as he didn't have to swing at empty air, as long as we didn't have to see Hayden Christensen pulling off on kill shot over. When it happened once or twice, I could forgive it, but like every time. And we didn't see a lot of dueling, and it was still that bad. Because we couldn't get away from it fast enough when she starts fighting him.
Yeah, the fighting really wasn't on any level well put together for any of the fighting with Anakin, fighting with the 2 fallen Jedi, or whatever they wanted to call them.
And we've got an editing guy here who gets this poorly choreographed fight, right? And then, like, I guess at some point they're like, make it good now. And he's like, are you kidding me? And they're like, no, you make it happen. And he's like, but you have to understand, I have to have something to work with. And they're like, no, sew a silk purse out of this hog's ear. And he's like, I guess I can keep it short. You know,
and do it in a week. That's
yeah.
Do it in a week, and we're not going to premiere the show for another 12 weeks.
Since Force Awakens was delayed by him getting Harrison hurt, none of these movies has been late. None of these TV shows has been late. They don't care. They'll half-ass it to get it done on time, and it's just. It really is kind of a shame, and you wish you could get more out of these creators because, I mean, I don't know if there was a story here, but, imagine having the audacity to jump in there and bring in Princess Leia. Yeah, the young Ahsoka was Ahsoka proper, says Rocco the Brave, and also that she did do better than Rosario as far as the dueling. So I'll just say again, there's a way to keep it even if her dueling style had been different, right? And by the way, how much
they could have done that, and because she's in her mid-40s at this point.
How about this too? Would you think this would have helped when they're dueling? Bam, 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 bam. Where was the majesty of our missing character, the Star Wars music? When they showed Thrawn, he had a theme. It was okay. It was okay here and there.
That's slightly altered from the theme he had in the cartoon.
All right, so we had some almost canned music here for him too. So what I'm saying is, how about all these times where we had no music or just some drum beats or percussion, which we've seen ever since Book of Boba Fett, which I like to call it. I mean, this was not a well-wrought and loving Star Wars tale, and it also like this sickening like why make Hera a general? Why not give her attire suitable for a general later on, at least in episode 2? Can they trust us enough for that? Why have her be a general with absolutely no power? And why on earth did we overthrow the Empire when they ran things smoothly? Like Han Solo, at least, like until they pulled his docking permission, was going to be able to leave Mos Eisley, and he was just some dude. She's a general, and she's like, I want to take my own ship and do this, and they're like, no, you can't. You have to go back to the to study hall. You have to go back to study hall.
Yeah, I don't think they've really thought out their universe as well as they think they have, because all this stuff's supposed to intertwine on paper, but none of it actually does.
I have an issue with the fact it intertwines, and I want to just say right now, and I don't know if you want to agree with me or not, or what you think of it, but how about this one? You ready? We're seeing problems here, and I'm sorry, I'm going to cross-relate it, and I apologize to anyone who thinks I'm doing it, but these are problems from Star Trek, too. This inability to have continuity, this inability to show a clean story, this inability to honestly convey events, and this boring, gross message that's misandrous, all wrapped up into one, makes it's a boring, harmful, predictable viewing. Like, what was strong woman Sabine going to learn from anybody? And then just her relationship with the Force is that when she got like angry enough, she ate her spinach. And I mean, even the reason Popeye has his power is more spelled out than Sabine, who's listed as a Jedi, by the way, in Wikipedia.
Yeah, most of that stuff cutting back to Hera and the fleet really didn't make sense for the narrative, especially at the points they came in. At the first, I think it's 7 to 10 minutes of that final episode didn't need to be there at all.
And every character except Rosario Dawson had one and only one outfit, right? We couldn't throw... Remember how many different looks we threw at you for a female character in the movies? Remember Padme and
Yeah.
and just like in Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones? Remember how many different outfits she had and how we had fun with that? Like Sabine dresses like she's going to a Twi'lek biker bar for the whole fucking show. And she's like Miss General Lady, but again, like she can't cut study hall to go use her own property to go look for her own friend. And then
that
I think
part really didn't make sense.
it was so she
They're
could yell at them.
Trying to shoehorn her and the kid in to, because they had to have the kid there to find Ahsoka in the water.
Well, yes, I agree. But rewinding before that, when she has the confrontation about how she needs to go do this thing with her own ship because she's a general and she wants to, and it's like, well, I don't know what to tell them about you cutting study hall. And she goes, you'll think of something, dripping with contempt. Okay. I think that scene was simply contrived so she could be mean to a man. It was misandry, in my opinion. I mean, what else did it serve? That scene, you're a general with no power, so you can't. Why do we overthrow the Emperor? Like Han Solo had more freedom than a New Republic general.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty much what you're going to get in a bureaucracy, be it Empire, Republic, McDonald's.
That's why, Germ, I think you and I should probably try to join with the First Order. Kylo Ren and Hux are jackasses, but at least they've got the get-to-itiveness spirit of Emperor Palpatine. Palpatine, they mock him and say, oh, yeah, he shot up Luke with lightning and said, you'll pay the price for your lack of vision. But nobody talks about Imperial Healthcare, where he gave everybody in the galaxy corrective surgery. And that's what he meant by that line. That was in an extended Disney canon book to support the Galactic Cruiser.
I would agree with you, but I do not recognize this Kylo Ren person or this Hux. They just don't exist.
What we're going to see. Don't you think we're going to see them? Although we're seeing what looks like regime change at Disney as we go from season 1 to season 2, and because of the strike, we can be fairly sure that little or nothing of season 2 exists. So we can still sort of pump our brakes and not go forward with this thing, because I did notice this in the final episode that we've gone where no one's gone before, and it's like, okay, forgetting for a moment that one of the people that they met there was from where they were. Let's just forget about that for a minute. And they're going there to meet someone from where they are. So whatever, great line. When they go there, they're like, we haven't been here for, and they can't just give a normal number. So they have to hit it with 300 quadrillion plex years, right? And they walk up and are instantly recognized. They're like, greetings, daughters of Dathomir. It's like someone from 3,000 years ago walks up to us, right? And you're like, oh, hello, cheetah god of the Aztecs. I mean, what were we watching?
Yeah, that's another thing that makes me lean toward this was supposed to be in galaxy, and they just threw that. This is a different galaxy on sometime in the middle of production, and then they had to go and backfill and change scenes.
Did they go back and hit this again? Because it seems so low effort. I have a hard time believing they would want to. And again, Hera, give her something that makes her look like something other than some crazy biker chick. And then we got an actual crazy biker chick with Sabine, who's just crazy purple-haired chick. And man, they couldn't just delete her in this show and improve it. She was insufferable. When she went and saw her friend in another galaxy, she wasn't even moved to go hold his hand or hug him or say hi. She just snarks at him.
That is interfering with the writing.
Yeah, and I'm sorry,
because
guys.
The character basis
we circle back to quantum. We've circled back to Disney a little bit and to Star Wars a little, because the Quantum Leap expert didn't really make it, and I can only wing it. I know the old show, but we'll try to talk some Quantum Leap later. But I guess I'm on a little more.
Oh no, we don't got too much more time.
That's cool. I apologize that I didn't know more about Quantum Leap.
Yeah.
Didn't have time to get
That's
up
all
to speed on
right.
it. But yeah, like I think like they do hug, but it's after an extended like snark fest, right?
Yeah, I guarantee someone went in there and told them to downplay the relationship, because at the end of Rebels, there was definitely heavy romantic interest.
Right. And
And
then when we see
well, as far
the
as
hologram,
a kid show could get by with, and there
you
was
can have two
clearly
people
someone
who love
came in
each
there
other, I
and
guess.
completely undercut that for this show.
You can have two people attracted to each other who are down with each other in a kid's show and get away with it, you know. Again, Popeye. But the thing that I thought was strange was you know, some of these Easter eggs, like Kanan wears a shirt made of the dog tags of all the stormtroopers he's deleted. I was like, that's Jedi like. That sounds like something a Jedi would do. You know what I mean?
It's
Like,
they didn't mention Kanan a lot more, because that would have been the only thing that the droid could have talked about with Ezra. And as it is, he got one throwaway line so he can get a part.
You also said that they didn't have the same relationship. That goes all the way back to the conversation she has with the one-way message from him, the hologram, where he's like, you know, despite what the show Rebels might have told you, we were like brother and sister. And that might be why they wouldn't show us curated episodes of Rebels. Maybe could it be that someone was absolutely furious that there was a relationship in this between a man and a woman where like she dug him and they were equal? I don't know what their relationship was like. I got to be honest. I put in almost all the homework. I got all of Clone Wars. I watched all of it, right? And I did 2 seasons of Rebels. So like I deserved a better fate from this show.
Yeah, everyone did.
I feel most bad for all my friends who had to review it. I felt nothing burger coming, especially after the other Disney efforts, and I didn't feel any confidence in this. And my gosh, am I ever lucky that I noped out on this. I felt bad for my friends who had to review it. Like, they couldn't have enthusiasm for it. They're getting destroyed if they said it wasn't good. And like, how could you not say it's bad? And with the makeup of the casting, it was just like, no matter who you said wasn't doing a good job acting, directing, writing, or anything else, aside from Dave Filoni, you know, it's like, oh, you just like, you know, you have a problem with women. It's like, no, I don't like this character. It's like, yeah, it was a woman. It's like, well, you know, what character could I find that I don't like the robot either? How's that work? You know, I mean, that was our most constant male presence was that robot.
Yeah, he did have the most screen time, unfortunately.
Of any male, and he was just set to male. Weren't you like waiting for the moment where they're like, "I've had enough of your attitude," and they reach over and switch him, and like a female voice started coming out of like Dot Matrix or something like that? Because we never really squared the circle to making this a believable Star Wars story, or even a believable story. Like this was like Buck Rogers when like I gotta say this. I was more invested in certain episodes of Captain Proton on Voyager. Star Trek Voyager. I liked Captain Proton better than some of this.
There's definitely more happening in Captain Proton.
Captain Proton was a better. And what does that say? That was supposed to be dumb.
Yeah. But well, that was back when they actually had talent in the writer's room and not just, hey, you got a degree from this college, you'll work for half the price of the guy who actually knows what he's doing, and you come.
The guy who knows what he's doing has been doing this for years and doesn't want to like lose his house. And his wife is like, if you don't start driving this truck, you know, I'm not going to help you out and we're not going to be together anymore. And he's like, F you and your idea for a story for $20 a page. I deserve like $300 a page. And they're like, fine. And they're like, you can write for Star Wars. Like, I'll take $5 a page. And they're like, you'll have 2 and like it. And he's like, I'll do it for 2. I'll write a lot of pages.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, but that's where we're at.
Dave Filoni got paid by the
point, though. At this point, I am glad though that we're not going to see too much more of Disney Star Wars, because I don't think Acolyte is ever going to materialize. They got that.
A minute and a half worth of trailer doesn't mean much to me. How many millions of dollars? You could get a minute and a half out of that. You better be able to. I could, and you could, right?
Yeah.
If we just had 3 scenes
they have
and kept filming them over and over, we'd get it right eventually. Someone from the crew would be stirred.
They only have 2 projects left that are actually in production. That's season 2 of The Bad Batch, and that what was it called? Skeleton Crew.
Rock of the Parade, by the way. That Daisy Ridley movie ain't happening. I don't think so. They're gonna try.
They don't have. They don't even have contracts for it. They made an announcement.
That thing is it's going to burn up in the atmosphere. Like it's never going to be. It's going to stay nebulous, and it's going to be like from our view down here. It's like, oh, look at that beautiful bright star that will one day be the Rey movie. But it's just like it's kind of a deception. It's just going to implode. It's the opposite of like Henry Cavill as Highlander, where it's like if you talk about Henry Cavill, and then you publicly offer him the role of Highlander, and he says as much as I would like to do it, all of a sudden, like a few people will call you up and be like, I've got some money for that. You know what I mean? And seems to be a pitch for an Ahsoka Mandoverse movie, I guess, was the watch the movie to see the end. But I would ask you this.
That's one of a dozen plans they have. And at this point, they're just throwing shit at the wall to see what sticks.
You know,
hey,
what?
Punchy.
Hello. Here's my problem with Star Trek, and I guess I would ask you if you have a problem with this with the Star Wars, is that like a lot of it is really dismissible as non-events that didn't happen because someone was having a dream, or someone was tripping out, or we were in another dimension, or we were in another world.
I don't get that feel too much. It's more of like, this stuff happens, but it doesn't really matter. And it's not really interesting.
What if Dave Filoni gets told that he sucks and moves on, and they have someone else grab this next season, and they're like, we're going to go in a radical new direction. And like in about 5 minutes into the first episode, Ahsoka was like, I dreamed that I was in the world between worlds with Anakin, but I wasn't. I was just out cold in that water. I know it now. I know it because I don't feel the force around that illusion. And we can wipe that away. You know what I mean? Because that whole place between places, or world between worlds, when they hold your hand to the point where we're seeing ARC troopers firing as they charge by, and maybe even have seen something to do with the Trade Federation, and see young Anakin, and she says, this is the Clone Wars. We know that if it had been any other point, they would have tied it in by saying when it was. So the fact they didn't say world between worlds, again, either they wouldn't pay someone, or it's they don't want to commit to it, or they themselves aren't sure it's the world between worlds, or it was taken out because it nailed them down too much. And when you don't want to like constrain yourself with a story, you end up with a lore-free series of events. This happened, then this happened, then this happened, then this. It's not this happened, so this happened, therefore this happens, which causes this, so they do that, which works, but has this repercussion. We're not getting the operative words that make a story. This is a series of unfortunate events.
Exactly, but I don't think we're going to have to worry about that too much longer, because Disney, I don't think is long for this world. There's a
what is our stock at now?
Last time I checked, it was 80, just under 81.
I'm going to Google it while you make your point. Go ahead.
But I believe sometime in 2024, Apple is just going to lose all restraint and gobble up what shattered remains there are of Disney, so they can fill up Apple Plus and make some attempt to save now bankrupt franchises.
Jesus Christ, today's opening was a disgrace and it crashed from 79.10 to 78.84, and then by the time it closed through 4 p.m. New York time, or as I call it, America time, it was at $80.82. So like kind of a real great rebound for them, but it's predicted to have some kind of terrible drop at 6 p.m. between trading sessions, I guess, when I don't know. It doesn't make sense. It looks like it's predicted to drop to 79.59 at 5:45 p.m., which passed. So I don't know. Who knows? Maybe this did happen. This could be an after hours trading where it's a little more wild. But yeah, Apple's up 72%, Amazon down, Netflix down just a tick, and Microsoft up. So people in a good position to buy this at $80.81. The only thing that makes it look good is Paramount at $11, which is weird because most
another company I don't think is long for this world.
Which is a shame because the things on Paramount Plus, aside from New Trek, I actually have to say are mostly good. 1923.
I'll have to take your word for that.
1923.
I'm not into that type of show.
You know what? The Yellowstone shows are good shows. Tulsa King is a good show. I didn't think I was into it either, but I was so bored of the same old thing that I watched it, and I got sucked into 1923. It was just a pretty good Western. Pretty good West, which I can handle. I
tried Tulsa King, but I don't know. It's just I couldn't get into it.
Here's the difference. Some of these shows might not be for you, but they're not terrible, preposterous, ridiculous, with moments of absolute stupidity that would make the people who do like them have trouble buying into next week's episode. The shows that you and I do like, they continuously challenge what's called the viewer's immersion. Like they have a contempt for the idea that we would need to be invested in the fact that we're experiencing this story, not seeing ourselves in it, not feeling that we've advanced an agenda, but that we're experiencing the story, that we care about our heroes, that we want to know what happens. And it's, like I said, slower, no intensity. We don't care about our heroes. They're not really heroes to us. Whatever happens, I'm pretty sure everything's going to be okay, right? Am I wrong?
Eventually, Disney will go out of business, and the next order have to be a little bit more intelligent than Disney, because I don't imagine anyone being more stupid.
Well, the good news is this, that Star Wars might go on and Disney could go on and go their separate ways. Because what would be better than Disney spinning off Marvel and Star Wars, using that injection of cash to go back to being an amusement park thing, shut up about social issues. You won't have a studio anymore, right? So there'll be no writers to argue with. You say, we're sorry. Feel bad about these things that those writers had. We don't do that anymore. And, down the road when we do, we're not going to do it like that again. But our parks are wholesome. Families have been coming here from generations. Look how pretty it is. Walt's World of the past, and, all these wonderful things. Come on down to Disneyland. We're going to run a competitive pricing thing. And, just try to build back your brand. Like 5 or 6 years of doing nothing after an apology might go a long way, because in 11 years you've done nothing but devalue your stock. I'd love to know where Disney was and adjusted for inflation from before the Star Wars buy and compared to where it was now. Didn't it used to sit in the hundreds of dollars area
just a few years ago?
Yeah. And then let's take a look at something
around the beginning of the pandemic. It was around, I believe, 126, or at one point it was near 180, I believe. But that may have been a different company.
Today, in one-day trading, a similar stock, just not a similar stock, but something as iconic, took a beating, down $2.50, Coca-Cola. So today might have just been a bad day all around. But as I look at even Coca-Cola, it fell off a cliff. Wow. You know what? We may have
There may have been an October 4th stock market event. I'm actually going to Google that right now.
A typical
lot of
swing throughout a
stocks.
day is about 3 to 5%. So it has
This
to be
was
pretty severe.
like for Coca-Cola to lose like 3.5, like 2.5, almost $3 in a day. That's
Not much because they're usually trading about 60 to 65.
they pay a dividend.
Yeah. They pay a quarterly dividend of, I believe, is 40 to 60 cents a share.
NASDAQ jump, stocks recover as bond sell-off takes a break. All right, so something went on in another part of the financial market that did cause everybody's stocks to dip. And what we see today may not matter in a few days when we absorb this, but there was a shock to the system of the market. There was an October 4th stock market event. There was a bond sell-off, possibly overseas. Major U.S. stock indexes fared outside of the norms. And it was an atypical trading day, but not by like a whole lot. But yeah, the graphs looked insane. So I thought maybe, there was something to do with an entertainment merger or something, but it was just
The graphs are never really reliable.
Yeah, but we're not telling anyone to buy anything or sell anything, so we're not giving financial advice, and you shouldn't take financial advice from Germ and I, even though we're cool. We're just
that would be illegal for us to do.
Yeah, we're not giving you that advice. We don't want you to buy anything except into our theory about Ahsoka, and we wish we could have had more Quantum Leap for you. Sorry about that, guys.
And if you do want to buy something, there is a merch link in the chat. It's very simple. Stream Elements store. But that's the only thing I'm going to tell you to buy.
It's a shame I only use an avatar because I could buy shirts from all my friends and just wear them on the air like the critical drinker. So what I want is my Resolute Germ plushie. When am I going to get that?
Well, I'd have to talk to Stream Elements about that. They're not quite up to the plushie level of standards yet. Just cheap iron-on shirts and mugs.
Hey, you know what? Hit those like and follow buttons for our pal Resolute Germ. He shared his impressions of what was not the greatest journey, a journey into darkness, so to speak. And I guess we should address the Gorilla's random thoughts elephant in the room. See how I worked our pal's name into that? What did you think of Doomcock's prognostication that they're looking to delete men from the Force completely with a weirdo story in this Perdea galaxy or whatever it might be?
I think that's a little bit overblown because I doubt they're ever going back there.
Do you think this was something that the people doing Ahsoka wanted and that cooler heads are trying to put the brakes on the show because of things that crazy? Could that be what we're saying here?
I'm sure someone in there had an idea similar to that. Maybe not that insane, but they had a lot of ideas they forced into that show. None of them really meshed with each other because the reason they chose the Night Sisters in the first place is because they're all female based character set. Most of their lore, almost the entirety of their lore is like 85-90% they pulled out of a cell phone game, Heroes.
Did they? I remember some of their lore from the creation of Darth Savage. Or it does the same witches?
Those are the same witches. That sect of the Dathomirian witches were completely eliminated by Count Dooku and General Grievous.
That's why I don't like when people say
random
that
survivors, kind of like how they keep finding random Jedi that survived Order 66.
Order 66 was a failure, but you know what? I just want to say, as far as the Dathomir witches, like Count Dooku gets a bad rap, but he did a lot of good things people don't talk about, like trying to get rid of these boring Dathomir witches. And while Morgan Elsworthbergstein, whatever her name, Morgan Elstein could come over my place anytime. She's hot.
just the impassiveness from the facelift that has her frozen in this group of people who are all impassive and have all seemingly had that facelift, or if they haven't, we can't tell. The level of disengagement by the cast, this guy should have had a human being who had directed human beings with him, because it was as though someone who had done only Henson stuff made a movie with people.
I never thought of it that way.
I didn't feel they ever.
You get Henson has more. Those Muppets emote a lot more than they did in this show, though.
The Muppets' eyes move around a lot more. Their eyebrows, their expressions change. Things that didn't happen with Ahsoka. Ahsoka was impassive through this entire show. And I don't know I could blame. The only thing I'm going to put on Rosario Dawson is she's known she's going to be playing a sword-wielding character for 4 years. I don't care about her physique. And by the way, her physique might have changed if she exercised. So just saying, maybe like some fencing.
Sure, she did exercise, but I don't think they gave her the proper direction. She exercised probably the way she normally does, and that's more for probably kickboxing, Muay Thai type stuff. But they should have told her to try to cut muscle and slim down, and like ballet or gymnastic classes. That would have fit the character a lot more.
If I was Rosario Dawson, and I'm not, but if I was Rosario Dawson, I would have 4 years ago, when I found out I was signing a contract to play a Jedi for the next 3+ years, and then we were gonna like really fuck up Star Wars with it, I would have started taking fencing lessons immediately. I don't know if I would have worked on my physique as much as I would have been able to make it look like I could hold someone at bay with some valid form of fencing. And I would have taken very basic martial arts, but I would have gotten very good at just a couple of kicks, a couple of punches, a couple of rolls, a couple of throws, just to add veracity to my performance. And I would have been working on that without stopping for 4 years. And instead, what we get is a guy who knows what he's doing because he took some training 17 years ago, just outperforming her. And then we see a child holding their own more so. So I will say this. Rosario Dawson was not dedicated to playing a Jedi, or was told that there would be no fighting in her Jedi character and just be all magic, because we saw that with Ezra. And I don't know what kind of was that a message?
Something completely different.
They might have. Maybe they lied to Rosario Dawson, but she was totally, can we agree, not prepared to appear as though she was qualified with to fence, let alone use dual wield lightsabers. That was preposterous.
Yeah, they didn't make her look good. She could have trained any way that they told her. The direction she got on set, complete trash. So no matter what she prepared for, whatever stuff she learned isn't going to do any good if the guy on set doing the choreography for the fight scenes says, "Oh no, don't swing at her head, swing at her blade because we want this big crash."
She knows Kevin Smith. She should have a finger in this. How about this then? You say, you know what? I've walked off this. I'm going to walk off your goddamn show if I can't fight in a way that is conducive to making my character look competent, because I've been watching the first 3 George Lucas movies, and I've noticed that the lightsaber style in there is like the, I would research my role. You know what I mean? I'd be like, yeah, I would probably watch all of Clone Wars too if I was Rosario Dawson. And Clone Wars much better than Rebels. Not terrible research. It's kind of a fun diversion. You can watch it in a few weekends. So she had no right to not expect to be. I'm even going with a lower standard. Let's say she took two-handed.
I wouldn't think she has that type of pull on set.
What if she went with the kind of there's a thing called just show. What about this then? Like she knows for years now that Hayden Christensen did one of the greatest fencing performances in Star Wars, like largely in person with that duel with Obi-Wan, where they don't swap them out for sword masters as much as they do for other times, right? I don't know. I mean, should she can't be doubled for a sword master? You know what I mean? We see a terrible double for Ezra appear out of nowhere. He blips in. Did you catch that little mistake?
Several times. He just They did the same thing with Ahsoka a couple of times, but it's not as noticeable because of the heavy makeup. But I believe the Ezra double is maybe 3 or maybe a little even more inches shorter than the primary actor. So it's sort of stark.
And it's a blip, and you could tell, and they didn't. This seems careless to me, and I'll say it again. In the episodes where they didn't think the episode was going to make it, we see the complete lack of ability, a complete lack of desire to get to a mediocre episode. They would let an episode be an OSHA site, a Superfund site, a trash fire. They would just allow that to happen and count on you to come back the next week saying, well, maybe it'll be better, or I want to wait to the end to reserve judgment. And then after 2 or 3 trash fires, we get hey, Snips with young Anakin, and everyone's they coom, and they're oh, and just the amount of people out there who've been either paid to say or are dumb enough to seal clap the idea that Star Wars has never been better. I roll my eyes. There are people sitting on their couches tonight saying, thank God we have Ahsoka, so that Star Wars is finally done right. There's a few of them. There's not a lot. Most people hate it. But there's a few people out there saying that. And it's crazy.
Most likely those people are under 30 and weren't alive even for the prequels.
I blame No Child Left Behind for this show. And I don't know if we're going to find out if this did any good. We've saved Star Wars 3 times in a row. Is the Obi-Wan show finished? It's coming. This is a thing that's going to happen. They were done with it when the strike happened. There was just no one to edit it.
Obi-Wan season 1 is done with.
Well, I saw that.
For season 2 is, as far as I know, non-existent.
Boy, it wouldn't be great if we just didn't get it.
That would be ideal. But sometimes you can't even say, oh, it's filming. They said that Acolyte was in filming for over a year. That didn't pan out to anything.
They didn't get anything out of it, but I have a weird feeling that they could have come up with hours of useless footage, gone down crazy rabbit holes. They might have turned in something so unwatchable that even Kathleen Kennedy was like, no. And it seems like right now we finally have a small fringe of people who are probably getting purged regularly, but people have just had it, so they keep self-refreshing from inside the company, of people who've burned out, and they're like, listen, no one's going to believe this. It's just dumb. You don't understand Star Wars. And they're just here and there making little stands maybe within it, but it doesn't still seem to be adding up to anything tactile. They just keep doubling down on the same bad storytelling style, and it's at this point become predictable. And I don't know about you, but I've had someone calling me a misogynist for days now on my Twitter just because I was like, man, that Ahsoka show was just a drag. And I'm like, give me a way to criticize the show that, doesn't attack women, that doesn't have any implications on a woman. There's no agency by anyone else in this show. You could say that no matter what I said.
I don't even pay attention to online. I live in Seattle. The fact that I'm a white male, I'm called a misogynist on a daily basis.
Well,
it's almost my law here.
I'm white, but I look exactly like a white Will Smith. Exactly. It's strange. I have Caucasian skin, but other than that, I look exactly like Will Smith in Independence Day.
So people don't really know what to make of it. I'm kidding, of course, but yeah, no, I don't know where they're going with this. Like our white guy, like this is the representation you want. We have a really poorly fighting Jedi who's just the best as ever because we say so. We've got the white guy outdoing her as a duelist. We have the only character with resolve and purpose being a white guy. And, Smurf power go. Like, Thrawn's supposed to be great because he's really dumb and lets his enemies go because he's gallant or something. Like, Dave Filoni's idea of a smart... Like, Thrawn is a stupid person's idea of a smart person.
Which is very different from the way he was in the cartoon and pretty much every other media he's ever been portrayed in.
And I don't care that it's on the cover of the books. Give him that cheap white dinner jacket didn't work. Give him something closer to the old Empire or something hybrid to the First Order, something in the middle. Anything but this. He looks like a maitre d'.
It's probably a maitre d's outfit that they repurposed.
I will say this.
Not exactly flush with cash.
On their second shot, they did a much better job on the on sci-fi horsies. These are better sci-fi horsies than in Rise of Skywalker.
Oh yeah, because at least in part they were practical.
I just don't understand why they repeat beats from the Phantom Menace, thinking they're going to be funny here with this battle of the traveling snail people and the space horsies and. Repeating beats from Tross as though it's some kind of good movie. They're kind of trying to combine like a Phantom Menace feel with the feel of Tross with the space horsies. And I'm like, are you guys cognizant of how people felt about those space horsies? I mean, we see people riding on the backs of the space horsies and the people on the space horsies go after everyone but the people who are firing at them, who fortunately keep missing them. I mean, one of the things that's making the Empire do so well is that these good guys are really inept, and their government sucks too, by the way. Their government completely sucks. Only the male members, like Mon Mothma, feels kind of bad about the government sucking, but that one guy's like, now listen, see here, this government's about procedure and about not getting things done, and you're talking about going out there and just helping people, and that's not what this government's about. You need to go back to study hall, finish your assignment, bring it back here, then make up the 3 chemistry, tests that you missed, and then you can take your ship, little missy, but not before then, and then you're not going to the prom. What was the point of overthrowing the Empire?
No more Sith, I guess.
I would have liked to have just say right now that living under the Sith seems to have probably been better and cooler.
Unless you're a Wookiee. Then
you know what?
Mining kyber crystals.
Yeah, but you know what? Everybody, in the words of Tom Petty, everybody got to fight to be free, right? So, I mean, if the Wookiees aren't out there willing to earn it, why bother? They're not getting it done, and unfortunately, like this Star Wars tale didn't work out. For similar reasons we've seen other fail, but it's too bad.
Yeah.
And I don't know where we go from here.
We'll let Apple decide that, because Disney's at the end of their rope.
With the
they got
strike,
Skeleton Crew, and they got Bad Batch in the can.
With those work stoppages,
theoretical.
Yeah, with those work stoppages that we know aren't theoretical, with the strike and the writer's strike, it might be there was a long pause between anything going into the pipeline, as they say, for development. So we just may have things that were fed in a while ago, and we might not. We probably, hit the reverse lever, which is free, instead of going forward with some of these things that were just starting. The Acolyte, that might be such a money sinkhole that they have to produce something just to show you that they did something, but it still probably will be terrible. Yeah, I don't know. I have no real hope for a Star Wars project that's good at this point. Do you?
Not really. The best they have going is the third and final season for Bad Batch, and for some reason they've kept that into canon since July.
Because I think what you just said is true. Like they were hoping some of these shows would pop, and they didn't. No one really bit with Andor, even though it was better. It was also just real slow, so slow that even though the story was good, you can't call it a good show because took too long for things to come to fruition. You know what I mean? The pacing was too slow, and even with this show, if you thought that those 12 minutes in the place between places and the Clone War flashback and a couple of those member berries and C-3PO coming in and saying Princess Leia is also at study hall. One of the dumbest exchanges I've ever seen. Well, then this is your lucky day. We've got a Star Wars movie for you. It's got nothing to do with Star Wars. And I guess my final question for you on this one would really be this. We've got the prequels, the OT, and the sequels. When watching Ahsoka, would I be correct to say that you should watch the sequels and then you should watch the prequels and the sequels and skip the OT because those characters aren't important, don't show up, and they'll only confuse you if you want to stay with the Disney canon?
Sequels aren't even necessary.
In the Disney canon? I think that the least necessary one might be the OT because of the way Disney's done things. I'm being very honest. I don't think the OT. If you watch the OT, you would be really confused because where's Han Solo? Why is Senator
if you watch the sequels, they're not attached to any of the movies or any of the shows.
I think we are trying to attach them to the shows. I honestly think we are.
They're trying, but they haven't gone out. They've gone out of their way not to directly mention any of it.
Just they know
even in poison. Mandalorian, even in Mandalorian, they stayed away from saying anything directly about the First Order when they had ample opportunity.
They were smart not to, and I think it's only 7 years. It's before the attack on Hosnian Prime, but or whatever, the Starkiller Base incident, whatever you want to call it. But I don't know. Star Wars used to be an event. It used to be fun. Now it sucks. Now no one cares. It used to be about fathers and sons, and it used to be about family. And Disney seems to have picked up on that. But I don't care about their family. Do you? You care about Lieutenant General Insufferable and whatever, her kid?
Not really.
And what a perfect family. Your husband will be a Force ghost. He won't even really be there. He'll be a deadbeat dad without being a deadbeat dad, right? Because he's dead, isn't he?
Yeah.
He died killing Cartoon Thrawn in a much more impactful and meaningful battle.
He had a good death in the cartoon.
Let me ask you a question. If we'd gone back in time, did I ask you this one? If we'd gone back in time to like the time you walked out of seeing Revenge of the Sith or even Return of the Jedi, and I said, listen, I'm from the future. I got a cell phone in my pocket with some knowledge of all mankind. And you can ask me one question about what happens next in the future. But first, I got to tell you where I'm from. There's just too much Star Wars and no one likes it. And it's an embarrassment of riches. You'd be like, this guy's evil. He can't be real.
I would have figured. Because after Revenge of the Sith, I didn't really think they needed to do anything.
I didn't either. I thought that was
go ahead and write some books. I believe they had already gotten, I think, entirely through the new Jedi Order and started on Jedi Legacy by that time. So that's really as far as anything ever went.
It's really a shame. George Lucas was a better steward of his empire than Disney has been. Certainly, we see that it seems that there's a lot of indications George would like a do-over on this one. And we all wish he could have it. They said that George could buy back Disney, buy it back from Disney. But I saw something, of all people, Star Wars Theory said something that made sense to me. He said, the thing about George buying back Disney, buying back Star Wars from Disney
is that a lot of his money's in Disney stock, which went down, but also that if he started to try to buy Star Wars, it would tank out his Disney stock and therefore undercut his financing. So he doesn't. He could head a group to buy it, but he himself actually, if he made a move to buy it, he would unenrich himself. And I think Star Wars.
I don't think it's even his plan. I don't think his plan to buy it back. He's part of that little cabal that's trying to threaten Iger with change, and he's one of the first in line to sell to Apple when they come knocking.
You think he wakes up screaming, George Lucas? Do you think he wakes up screaming?
He definitely has regrets. Because his original plan was to die and in his will leave Star Wars to public domain.
Which would have been nice, but didn't quite work out that way. It's too bad.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the money dried up on him.
He wasn't going to be able to raise money for another Star Wars movie. Well, he was an independent filmmaker.
That's the thing. He was running out. He can make pretty much whatever Star Wars he wanted. The independent stuff he couldn't get financing for.
He was being cheap though, because I think he made something like $14 billion off merch alone in like the course of only like 10 years. And that's believable to me, by the way. That doesn't strike me as crazy.
That sounds about right for the prequel merch sales.
They said what happened was they retired the toys in like 86, right? But they bought them back in 96 with the power of the Force, right? And they bring them back at that point, and they're more like collectibles. And from that point on is the second generation of merchandise. Like that run from 96 to 06, ending with After Revenge of the Sith, made them 14 bill. And by the way, that stuff flew off shelves.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ray is still out there from TFA at the CVS near me. I don't know if you've seen her lately. I see Ray sometimes. You know, I see her around sometimes. Good dog. She's a good bird and all, but I see Daisy around sometimes, and I just don't feel good about it.
Yeah. Well, I think this is about a good time to wrap up. Anything you want to say first? Last impressions, Teague? Anything you want to shout out?
Star Wars needs to prove itself again before you guys really waste your time on it. This show was tough to watch. I wish we could have gotten you more Quantum Leap. I apologize. My friend Resolute Germ here is absolutely a great guy. Please hit the like and follow buttons for him. My link is in the chat. If you enjoyed my perspective, I know a lot of you already joined with me, but I thank all of you for being here. Rocco the Brave, Gorilla, Looking Back, Punchy. I think Tony was through here. Disney Sheep Herder, Sci-Fi Mombi, all of you. Brandy on Looney Tunes fan 2000. Appion stopped in. I want to thank you all. It was our pleasure to describe for you the events of this show that was not a pleasure to watch. And thanks for having me, pet buddy. It was good to broadcast with you again. I like streaming with you. You're a good guy, Resolute Germ. That's why I got to kill you last.
Yeah, I was glad to have you here. And as for me, this Saturday, we'll be doing a special Halloween themed months for Saturday morning cartoons, watching Tales from the Crypt Keeper. And then hopefully next week I'll be redoing this stream, mainly focused on a review of episode 2 for Quantum Leap.
Cool. Good luck with that. I'm going to try to check it out. And it's always a pleasure to broadcast. To stream with you. Broadcast. Let's think big. Thanks, everybody, for coming by.
Take care, everyone. See you next time.